Hello, bar takers. It's Lisa Duncanson, your bar exam guru. Today I wanted to talk about the Bar Exam Cram Session, which is coming up on January 8th. And I just wanted to answer some questions, the ones that I get all the time, and do it in one fell swoop in this video. So why should you sign up for the Bar Exam Cram Session? Because it's fantastic. Because it can actually really help you succeed in the bar exam. And we do two each bar round, one in the beginning of people's study after they've just gotten into things, and one towards the end. And the ideal situation, you would take both and you can kind of dovetail your studies between the first one, which is on January 8th, and the second one, which is on February 5th. So they're different. The one on January 8th is more focused on how you're going to work through these upcoming weeks, and you have weeks. It's all of January, a couple of days in December right now, and it's most of February. So you're looking at less than 2 months to pass this thing, which sounds like not enough time, but it is. It is if you do things right, if you study smartly. So the Bar Exam Cram Session, what do you get with that? You get the predictions, which is what we're known for. I'm known for being the bar exam guru and always getting those predictions accurate. And I hope that continues. But that's not what you're really buying it for, although I know a lot of people come to us because of that. You should be coming to us because it's a really great review. And it's a very focused review on what you actually need to do on the written portion. And this also translates to the MBEs. But my focus during this time is how to learn the material in a reasonable amount of time, how to know how to approach each essay topic. And it's not just torts, it's negligence, it's defamation, it's products liability. It's not just property, it's landlord-tenant, easements, equitable servitudes, covenants, all kinds of stuff. It's not just contracts, formation, breach, and remedies. It's not just any of that. So you need to know approaches for all of those areas, all of those subtopic areas. And that's really critical. So we go over the cram sheets, but I don't read to my students. I mean, you can read a book. You don't need me to read it to you. What I do is I focus on the areas that students usually don't pick up. So I will go through defamation, for example, although it was just recently tested. Maybe I'll go through something else, but I usually try to go through everything that I can. And so if I go through defamation, I'm going to highlight the areas that most people don't realize they should have written. So if you took the July 2021 bar exam and there was defamation, you should have written on intentional infliction of emotional distress. You should have written on respondent superior, which usually people get, but most people don't pick up on the necessity to write IIED. And you don't have facts that really warrant it, because they're not going to say, well, when the person was defamed in their business or in, whatever their profession was or whatever it was that they were defamed in, you're not going to be told that they weren't able to sleep, that it caused troubles in their marriage. You're not going to be told that they lost income. You're not going to be told anything. You're just going to have to know that, hey, if a client comes into my office, and this is what you want to be able to tell the bar examiners on your only opportunity, which is on day one, of what you would do. If someone comes into your office and says, I've been defamed, you should ask them certain questions. Have you lost business? Are you able to sleep? Have you sought counseling? Has this affected your relationships? Have you lost, time with important people in your life because you've been accused of being a sex addict or whatever it is? IIED, intentional infliction of emotional distress. You're not going to be able to prove every element, but you should have a heading for intentional infliction of emotional distress right away on the defamation exam, unless they ask you to do it in a specific order. Start with that, because what you're going to do is you're going to show the graders that you have the breadth of knowledge that it takes to be a practicing attorney. And that is what you have to show. So you bring up intentional infliction of emotional distress. Spell it out. Don't do IIED unless you really have a long thing to talk about, and you wouldn't in defamation. So spell out the whole words first, and then if you want to reduce it, but you're not going to need to on a defamation exam, go on to here. The plaintiff may be able to recover under emotional distress, intentional infliction of emotional distress, if they can show that the statement, the defamatory statement, was extreme and outrageous and caused them emotional distress. That's basically the thrust of emotional distress damages, intentional infliction of emotional distress. So that's all you do. And what you do is you immediately separate yourself from everyone else who doesn't know that that's required. Required. It's like grabbing a point, grabbing 3 points or 5 points. And because it's the very beginning of your answer, the grader sees that, they go, oh, wow, she got that. He got that. Ooh, this is a good essay. You get the benefit of the doubt in your favor automatically. Automatically. How's that? It's great. And most people will not know that if that gets tested. Every single subject and all of the subtopics within it have these little nuances. I'm not done with defamation. There's more nuances. You're either going to have a track where you have to go through the economic torts, which includes interference with contract, which is an intentional tort, interference with prospective advantage, and sometimes you see it described as injurious falsehood. That's an older term. I only have it in my materials because you will see some of the older exams talk about it. So what is interference with contract? What is interference with prospective advantage? First of all, they're missed all the time on defamation essays. You're either going to have that track of the economic torts or the track of the privacy torts, like intrusion into seclusion, misappropriation of name or likeness, those kinds of torts. You're going to have one or the other. You're not going to have both tracks at the same time. So economic torts are almost impossible to see. So if you don't know, having watched this video, if you haven't seen this video and you don't know when you get defamation that you have to go down one of those tracks, you're not going to pass because it's required. It's required that you address either the economic torts, if relevant, or the privacy torts, if relevant. So, economic torts, you're not going to be given facts in the fact pattern to know that that's what they want. You will be given these facts. The person was an accountant, or the person owned a business, so their own business, definitely, either an accountant, a lawyer, a butcher, a caterer, somebody that has a business. And maybe they're not defamed in their business, but they're defamed in such a way that people, think about the definition of defamation. One of the two available definitions is the statement deters others from associating with that person, the plaintiff. The statement that the defendant or defendants made deters others from associating with that person. So the plaintiff, if they're in a business and people stop coming, you're not going to have that in the facts. You're not going to say they've lost business, they have damages. They're not going to give you that much. You have to know this going in. And think about it. If you're an attorney, someone comes to you and says, I've been defamed. Aren't you going to ask them the right questions? What would those right questions be? Have you been, having problems in your marriage? Have you lost sleep? Have you been unable to focus? Have you lost any clients? Have you had a loss in income due to this? Those are the questions you should be asking to find out if there was an intentional infliction of emotional distress claim, or if there were economic torts available. And then, of course, the privacy torts are pretty obvious when they're being tested, so I don't think you would miss those. But you should know going into the exam, defamation, that's your main thrust. That's where everyone focuses. But if you miss respondent superior, where courier news is liable, and that's easy to miss because it's all about the reporter did the bad things and you focus on the reporter. So make sure you get that. If you miss IIED, if you miss the economic torts, you're done. I don't care how brilliant your con law part of it is. I don't care how great that common law definition of defamation is and how great you analyze that. If you're missing IIED as a possible, if you're missing the torts of interference with contract and interference with prospective advantage, you're in trouble if those are at issue. And the problem is, you wouldn't know this except for sitting here and watching this video today. You would not know that unless you stumbled across a released answer that has that in it, both answer A and both answer B. So how do you address that? Do you do a full IRAC of interference with contract and interference with prospective advantage? No. You say here, you want to go through interference with contract, interference with prospective advantage. I would go with the first one being interference with contract. If we can show, if plaintiff can show the defendant that there was a contract in existence at the time, that the defendant knew of that contract, intended to breach that contract, and get, have the parties disavow their commitment, and it caused damages, then the plaintiff can has a cause of action for interference with contract. If they think they're going to lose future dollars, future contracts, they have a claim for interference with prospective advantage. That's all you need to do. And what that shows the grader is that you know what it takes to be a lawyer. Okay? You have to prove that to them. You can't just study and memorize crap, voluminous amounts, piles of it, okay? I've got all this in my head. Great, that's great. What are you going to do with that? You're going to write a passing essay? No, I guarantee you won't be able to bridge the gap between a 150-page outline and a passing answer. So that's what the Bar Exam Cram Session is about. Settling you into a really concise type of study and preparing you for how to write essays, and that will lead to how to pick good answers on the MBEs, and we'll spend some time on that at the end of the session so that attorney takers can leave and people that are general takers can stay. We also will cover things about the performance test and how to approach that, but the main focus is on how to structure things. And I don't read materials to you, I will go over them, but I want to focus, and I always focus on, this is why this course is so impactful for, students. I focus on the things that are not obvious. I focus on the things that you wouldn't know unless you came here. You wouldn't know unless you watched this video. You wouldn't know unless you saw the cram session. And I can't tell you how many times people have written me right after the cram session saying this was amazing and I feel so much better now. And then they tell me that they've passed months later. And it is the best feeling in my life. One of the best feelings in my life. I have other things that I really enjoy, like music and performing. I love to sing and I love to play stand-up bass. And those are just things I like to do. But I'm very passionate about bar prep. I'm very passionate about helping people, whatever it is, whether it's helping them, get by or helping them pass the bar exam. I'm so passionate about that. So if you want to sign up for the January 8th session, I will give you a bonus. If you sign up for the January 8th session, you will be able to sign up and register for the February 5th session, which is different and more focused on the end run there, for $395. So instead of spending $2,000 for both, I'm going to make it available for basically $13.95 roughly, or $13.90 is what it would be for 2 sessions. And it is a really good deal, because what happens if you take the January 8th one is you get this really great start to things and refocus. If you've already been studying for a month, good for you. A lot of people don't really get going until after the holidays, and that's understandable, but it's really critical that you have a jump start, and this is a great way to have a jump start. And then you have access to me. I'm not saying that you can call me every single day, but you can email me. I will answer questions. If it's something I can't really deal with in an email, I'll give you a call. I do that as much as I can. The blog, barexamguru.com, where I'll probably post this video as well, is really a fantastic resource of free things. So there are lots of free resources. I would always go to those first before you pay someone money. And if you think that anything I've said today resonates with you, then you should consider the Bar Exam Cram Session. I'm going to continue and tell you more about what you will receive. So we've come to be known, or I've come to be known as the guru who can predict the essays. And I have had a lot of success with that, but I'll tell you why. It isn't magic. I don't have a crystal ball, but I have been studying the California bar exam for 25 years. And of the exams I have reviewed, everything since 1977 till the present. I constantly review essays. You probably think I'm sick in the head, but I help people and know how to help people because of that exposure. And you need to have exposure of many, many, many essays. But I think what bar prep today is, it robs you of the opportunity, traditional bar prep, robs you of the opportunity to start getting writing and memorizing, because you can't memorize 150 pages. You shouldn't even bother with 150 pages. Put that crap away. Really. Put it aside. If you can't put it in the garage or dump it, then put it aside and say, well, I'll look at it if I can't figure out that MBE. Or if there's some really, really weird nuance in the essays, which there won't be, except that you would have to know interference with the contract, interference with prospective advantage, IIED. In community property, you have to know that they really love to test you on transmutations, even when there hasn't been one. It's just so odd. It's so weird. And I never would have figured this out unless I looked at past exams or unless someone had told me. So I'm telling you. And I will cover all of that stuff in the cram session. So what do you also get from the cram session? You get a connection with me and my staff. And if you have questions between now and the February 22 bar exam, we will do our best to answer those questions. I'm not the only person that works here, and I'm not the only person that knows the material. So one of us will get back to you with any reasonable request. And you also get the cram sheets, which are something that is really concise, and it contains what I like to call working definitions. And you also get the predictions, but it's not just predictions. I mean, years ago, after I started doing bar prep, I started doing bar prep privately in 1998. And prior to that, I was doing it at a law school, a couple of different law schools in 1996, 97, and then I went out on my own in 1998. And I'm grateful to those schools because I learned how to do what I'm doing today on their dime. And my students didn't have to pay for it, so I felt very comfortable trying different things. And I had a really high pass rate with the students that I worked with, so I realized that this was probably something I should do on my own. And again, I'm very passionate about it. So I do provide predictions, but more than that, I provide many essays that are released questions with released answers that reflect those predictions. So if I think a certain scenario is likely, and I already have in my mind some of them, of course you're going to have professional responsibility, but will it be in the context of corporations? Will it be on two different essays? A PR essay about contingency fees and whether the fees are fair, reasonable, or in California, not unconscionably high. I love that one. It's crazy. The ABA is they must be reasonable. In California, they just can't be unconscionably high. Wow. Okay. I find that funny. But you need to know those distinctions. And that's the kind of stuff that we cover. And the essays that I provide to you, there'll be 3 to 5 per area that I've predicted. So it's not just going to be torts. Here's defamation, negligence, products liability, and torts remedies. No, it'll be, I really think tort remedies is coming up, and here's how it could come up. Or I really think community property and wills is going to come up. I try to be as specific as I can. And if you want to know how I get to those numbers and that percentage of accuracy, it's because I go back 5 or 6 bar rounds each round, which, so this round, I'm just adding February and July, or adding July to it. And I review all of the questions and the released answers, so I know exactly what the bar examiners were looking for. I also have the historical data in my head and in my office physically of all the past exams from the last 30 years that I think are relevant to today. However, we have exams that have repeated only one time. Since 1989, there was an essay in property that was easements, which you see all the time, landlord-tenant, which is the most commonly tested area of property, so you can always be on the lookout for that. And then they had subjacent and lateral support. First time it was ever tested on an essay. It's usually reserved for the MBEs. Again, in 2013, they tested subjacent and lateral support in the same context with easements or landlord-tenant, one or the other. And my students had all seen that essay because I always put that essay in front of my students. And I will put it in front of you if you take the cram session. It's really important. Neither one of them is on the website anymore, and that's what gets tested. I'm not saying that's going to be tested, but things that are not currently on the website are much likely to repeat than things that are on the website, other than professional responsibility. So you get the predictions, you get about 25 to 30 essays that reflect my essay scenarios that I think are likely. And then there's just a few essays that I always include because what if? Tricky things that I think would be hard to figure out on exam day. So there'll be the ones that represent the areas that I'm focusing on for the predictions. And then there'll be others that I add in aside from that 25 to 30, maybe 4 or 5 that I think are just, wow, if you get that and you haven't seen it before, that's going to be a problem. And so that's what I do. And then we will cover the performance test to a degree. We do have a session for that that's separate. We have not scheduled it yet, but it'll be sometime in the middle of January. And you may be interested in that, but I usually get to about 45 minutes of coverage for the performance test, usually on the cram session. So hopefully that'll be true this time. But my most important goal for you is to give you all the tips that I can that will make you, from here to here. So the average bar taker knows a lot of information. Nobody takes the bar without studying. I mean, sometimes people do because they've already signed up and something happened in their life, and I mean, really tragic things can happen. And if they go ahead and take it, that's, really kudos to them, because it's tough when you've had a death in the family or some other tragedy. And I've worked with so many students that have experienced those very things. And of course, I've experienced those losses in my life too. So I understand all of that. But you have to be in shape, right? You can't run a marathon unless you've done all the steps to get to a marathon level. And so I like to think about the bar exam as a marathon. I used to be a runner. Maybe I'll get back to that again one day. But when I was taking the bar for the first time in 1994, I ran every day. I didn't listen to tapes or audio tapes about the bar. It was my time off. So you don't have to be a runner. You just have to be someone that's going to get some exercise and a break from the test. And you really do need to do that. So I just did a video recently on New Year's resolutions. And of course, your New Year's resolution, if you're taking the February 22 bar exam, is to pass it. But that video talks about how you can actually do that. Come to the cram session. I promise you will not be a waste of your time. I promise you that you will benefit from it. We've had students take those 2 sessions and just pass comfortably. And you want to feel confident, right? You want to feel confident. Studying 12 hours a day, 10 hours a day, whether you have all the time in the world or you don't, is not a good way to go. It really isn't. You need to be focused on the material and the right material, and that's what this program is about. Every aspect of what we do, what I do, is to get you over that hump and to get you those extra points that are available on every subject, every topic. Every subtopic has little twists. easements, covenants, and equitable servitudes, the things that always go together. So, for example, what I mentioned in the earlier video that you can, should be up pretty soon, is with contracts, you always have the defenses of impossibility, commercial impracticability, and frustration of purpose. You have to bring up all three, even though probably only one of them is going to be a colorable defense. So there are lots of things like that. Equitable liens always go with a discussion of constructive trust. Vice versa. If you see one, you have to have the other. If you don't, it's not going to be full credit and you're not going to pass. It is that simple. It is that simple. If you do not have the right issues in tandem with the main topic, defamation, First Amendment speech, watch the First Amendment speech video and you see that and you'll realize, oh wow, I didn't know I have to bring that up, even though it's not really brought up by the facts. Well, they want it. How do I know that? Because that's how they've always tested it. They've always embraced answers that with the First Amendment don't just cover content, neutral content based, and time, place, and manner, and the location and all of that. They test prior restraint, overbreadth, and vagueness. POV. Prior restraint, overbreadth, vagueness. And there's a whole video on that. So watch it. It's on this channel. I'm going to wrap things up today. I just really want to encourage you to take the program. I'm not a very good salesperson because I just, but I know this is something that benefits my students, and I'd love for you to join and get that benefit as well. It's a steal at the price because it makes such a difference in your studies from here on out. We always sell out on the February one. So you want to get in now and get both of them is what I recommend. And I won't make you pay twice, so please consider it. Please like and subscribe to this channel. So subscribe and like the video if you like the video. And if you subscribe, you'll get other videos as I do them. And I will be continuing to do videos on subject matter and not just subject matter jurisdiction, but on subjects. I'm not going to give away the predictions, but I do make hints on the videos. So if you pay attention, you'll see some stuff. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. Again, please subscribe and like. And I wish you all the best of everything on the exam. I wish you a happy new year. Make sure you check out the Bar Exam Guru blog. It's at barexamguru.com, barexamguru.com. And there's lots of free stuff there. A lot of law schools link to us, and because it's that good of a resource, and it's free. It's all free. So there'll be resources on how to study. There'll be how to set up a study plan. You just go through, you can search topics that you're interested in. We have over 1.2 million views, I think close to 1.3 now. So it's definitely something people like, and it's free. So why not? If you want more detail on what's included in the Bar Exam Cram Session, you can probably find it on the blog, but you can also go to barnonreview.com, BARNONE review.com. Look at the first page. There's going to be a sign up or more info for the January one. Just click on that. You're not going to be obligated. Just click on it and it'll tell you what you're going to get. And then you can decide whether that's something that resonates with you. If it is, do it, right? One of the reasons I do free workshops and let people attend is because I want them to see what they're going to get. That's why I do these videos, because one, I really love helping people, and two, I don't want someone to take my class because I pushed them into it. I want someone to take our courses because, wow, this makes sense to me. I think this is what I need. And if it isn't, then it isn't. I mean, if it doesn't make sense to you, what I'm talking about in these videos that you can look at, the First Amendment approach, the easements approach, how to study for the essays, how to study for the MBEs, then I'm not the person for you. And that's okay. I'm not offended. I've worked with thousands of students over the years, and I have perfected a method by working with those individuals. And I am grateful to every student I've ever worked with. And I know a lot of them are grateful for me too. So I love doing what I do. I hope that comes across, and I hope to see you on January 8th. All the best. Happy New Year. Let's pass this bar.